there, or is anyone else there?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Radha Madhava Kunjo Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjo Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Givaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Bonachari Yamuna Tira Bonachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjo Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjo Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Giridhari Sri Radhe Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balodeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, before we continue, we'll continue with our reading of Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita from where we left off. If I'm right, we were at the beginning of this paragraph, Siddhanta Saraswati. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Siddhanta Saraswati then traveled to Midnapur, where Panditas from all over India had gathered for a 3-day discussion. Some of the smarta Panditas who spoke first claimed that anyone born in a Shudra family, even though initiated by a spiritual master, could never become purified and perform the Brahminical duties of worshipping the deity or initiating disciples. Finally, Siddhanta Saraswati delivered his speech. He began quoting Vedic references, glorifying the Brahmanas, and at this, the smarta scholars became very much pleased. But when he began discussing the actual qualifications for becoming a Brahmana, the qualities of the Vaishnavas, the relationship between the two, and who, according to the Vedic literature, is qualified to become a spiritual master and initiate disciples, then the joy of the Vaishnava haters disappeared. Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scriptures that if one is born as a Shudra but exhibits the qualities of a Brahmana, then he should be honored as a Brahmana, despite his birth. And if one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, then he is not a Brahmana. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference, and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism. With the passing away of his father in 1914 and his spiritual master in 1915, Siddhanta Saraswati continued the mission of Lord Chaitanya. He assumed editorship of Sajjana Toshani and established the Bhagavad Press in Krishnanagar. Then in 1918, in Mayapur, he sat down before a picture of Gaurakishore Das Babaji and initiated himself into the sannyasa order. At this time, he assumed the sannyasa title Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was dedicated to using the printing press as the best medium for large-scale distribution of Krishna consciousness. He thought of the printing press as a Brihad Mridanga, a big Mridanga. Although the Mridanga drum had traditionally been used to accompany Kirtan, even during the time of Lord Chaitanya, and although Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati himself led Kirtan parties and sent groups of devotees chanting in the streets and playing on the Mridangas, such Kirtanas could be heard only for a block or two. But with the Brihad Mridanga, the big Mridanga drum of the printing press, the message of Lord Chaitanya could be spread all over the world. Most of the literature Abhay began reading had been printed on the Bhagavad Press, which Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had established in 1915. The Bhagavad Press had printed the Chaitanya Charitamrita with commentary by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the Bhagavad Gita with commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti, and one after another the works of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This literature was a spiritual heritage coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had appeared almost 500 years before. Abhay had been a devotee of Lord Chaitanya since childhood, and he was familiar with the life of Lord Chaitanya through the well-known scriptures, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. He had learnt of Lord Chaitanya not only as the most ecstatic form of a pure devotee who had spread the chanting of the holy name to all parts of India, but also as the direct appearance of Sri Krishna himself in the form of Radha and Krishna combined. But now, for the first time, Abhay was in touch with the great wealth of literature compiled by the Lord's immediate associates and followers, passed down in disciplic succession and expanded on by great authorities. Lord Chaitanya's immediate followers, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and others, had compiled many volumes based on the Vedic scriptures and proving conclusively that Lord Chaitanya's teachings were the essence of Vedic wisdom. There were many books not yet published, but Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was intent on establishing many presses just to release the sound of the Brihad Mridanga for the benefit of all people. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was teaching the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya's teachings that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that the chanting of his holy name should be stressed above all other religious practices. In former ages, other methods of attaining to God had been available, but in the present age of Kali, only the chanting of Hare Krishna would be effective. On the authority of the scriptures such as the Brihan Naradiya Purana and the Upanishads, Bhakti Vinod Thakur had specifically cited the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Krishna himself had confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the only method of attaining him was devotional service. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Should I stop here or should I continue?
You can stop
I
here.
think there's only one more paragraph, I think.
Yeah, one more paragraph and then you can finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Abhay knew these verses. He knew the chanting and he knew the conclusions of the Gita. But now, as he eagerly read the writings of the great acharyas, he had fresh realizations of the scope of Lord Chaitanya's mission. Now he was discovering the depth of his own Vaishnava heritage and its efficacy for bringing about the highest welfare for people in an age destined to be full of troubles. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Actually, this reading from Prabhupada Lilamrita today is very relevant to what we're going to cover in today's verses. So it's very pertinent. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So today we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 18, verses 1 to 3. The chapter is entitled Maharaj Prithu Milks the Earth. Before we begin, we will just chant our invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविष्णव माधव स्वामिन्निति नामिने। श्री जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तविंद। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवं श्री गुरुं दीनतारणं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So we shall go to the verses. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 18, verses 1 to 3. I'll read the verses. Begin with Maitreya Uvacha Ittam Pratham Abhishthuya Rusha Praspuritat Dharam Punar Ahavanidbhita Samstabhyatmanamatmana. Would anyone like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes.
Maitreya Uvacha Ittam Ubhishtuya Rusha Praspuditadharam Punar Ahavo Nirgita Samstabhyatmanam Atmana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Prabhuji, please go on.
Carry on, Prabhuji, carry on.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya Uvacha Ittam Prithumabhishthriya Rusha Praspurita Dharam Punar Ahavir Bhita Ahanavir Bhita Samstapyamatmana.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Mataji. Maitra Uvacha Itam Pritum Avishtuya Rusha Prasariti Adaram Punar Aha Avani Rivita Samastabhya Atmanam Atmana.
Thank you, Prabhu. Shall we go on to the synonyms? Maitreya Uvacha, the great saint Maitreya continued to speak. Itham, thus, Pruthum, unto King Pruthu, Abhishtuya, after offering prayers, Rusha, in anger, Prasfurita, trembling, Adharam, his lips, Punaha, again, Ah, she said, Avani, the planet Earth, Bhita, in fear, Samstabhya, after settling, Atmanam, the mind, Atmana, by the intelligence. Would anyone like to read the translation, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great saint Maitra continued to address Vidura. My dear Vidur, at that time, after the planet Earth finished her prayer, King Prithu was not still pacified, and his lips trembled in great anger. Although the planet Earth was frightened, she made up her mind and began to speak as follows in order to convince the king. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. We'll go on to the next verse. Sanniyacha vibho manyam vibodha shravitam cha me sarvatah saram adatte yatha madhu karo buddha. Would anyone like to try?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Shanya vivo mannam nibodo sravitam chame sarvatah saram adatte yatha madhu karo buddha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Shanyaccha vivo mannum nibodo savitam chame sarvatah saramadatte yatha madhukara buddha.
Thank you. Does anyone want to try, or shall we go on to the synonyms? Okay. Sanni Acha, please specify. Abhibho, O king. Manyum, anger. Nibodha, try to understand. Shravitam, what is said. Cha, also. Me, by me. Sarvataha, from everywhere. Saram, the essence. Adatte, takes. Yatha, as. Madhukarha, the bumblebee. Buddha, an intelligent person. Thank you. Would anyone like to read the translation, please?
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Lord, please specify your anger completely and hear patiently whatever I submit before you. Please turn your kind attention to this. I may be very poor, but a learned man takes the essence of knowledge from all places. Just a bumblebee collects honey from each and every flower.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Let's move on to the next verse. अस्मिल्लोकेऽथवा मुष्मिन् मुनिभिस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः दृष्टा योगा प्रयुक्ताश्च पुंसां श्रेय प्रसिद्धये.
Hare Krishna
Anyone like-
Mataji.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yes.
Asmin loke athava asmin munibhistattvadarshibhi drishta yoga prayuktascha pumsam sreyo prasiddhaye.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
Asmin loke athva musmin munibhistattvadarshibhi drishta yogaha prayuktascha pumsam shreyah prasiddhaye. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yes.
Asmin loke tatasmum munivistattvadarshivi drishta yoga prayuktascha pushman shreya prasiddhate. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Let's move on to the synonyms. Asmin, in this, loke, duration of life. Athava, or. Amushmin, the next life. Munibhi, by the great sages. Tattva, the truth. Darshibhihi, by those who have seen it. Drishtaha, prescribed. Yoga, methods. Prayuktaha, applied. Cha, also. Pumsam, of the people in general. Shreya, benefit. Prasiddhaye, in the matter of obtaining. Would anyone like to read the translation, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada once again.
Yes.
To benefit all human society, not only in this life, but in the next, the great seers and sages have prescribed various methods conducive to the prosperity of the people in general.
Thank you, Prabhu. I will read the purport. Vedic civilization takes advantage of the perfect knowledge presented in the Vedas and presented by great sages and Brahmanas for the benefit of human society. Vedic injunctions are known as Shruti, and the additional supplementary presentations of these principles, as given by the great sages, are known as Smriti. They follow the principles of Vedic instruction. Human society should take advantage of the instructions from both Shruti and Smriti. If one wants to advance in spiritual life, he must take these instructions and follow the principles. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one poses himself as advanced in spiritual life but does not refer to the Shrutis and Smritis, he is simply a disturbance in society. One should follow the principles laid down in Shrutis and Smritis, not only in one's spiritual life, but in material life as well. As far as human society is concerned, it should follow the Manusmriti as well, for these laws are given by Manu, the father of mankind. Would anyone like to read the second verse, or should I continue?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
In the Manusmriti, it is stated that a woman should not be given independence, but should be given protection by his father, husband, and elderly son. In all circumstances, a woman should remain dependent upon some guardian. Presently, women are given full independence like men, but actually, we can see that such independent women are no happier than those women who are placed under guardians. If people follow the injunctions given by the great sages, Shrutis and Smritis, they can actually be happy in both this life and the next. Unfortunately, rascals are manufacturing so many ways and means to be happy. Everyone is inventing so many methods. Consequently, human society has lost the standard way of life, both materially and spiritually. And as a result, people are bewildered and there is no peace and happiness in this world. Although they are trying to solve the problems of the human society in the United States, they're all still baffled because they do not follow the liberated instruction of the Vedas. They are unhappy. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Would anyone like to read the last paragraph of this purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
Two significant words used in this verse are asmin and amusmin. Asmin means in this life, and amusmin means in the next life. Unfortunately, in this age, even exalted professors and learned men believe that there is no next life and that everything is finished in this life. Since they are rascals and fools, what advice can they give? Still, they are passing as learned scholars and professors. In this verse, the word amusement is very explicit. It is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will have a profitable next life. Just as a boy is educated in order to become happy later, one should be educated in this life in order to attain an eternal and prosperous life after death. It is therefore essential that people follow what is given in the Shrutis and Smritis to make sure that the human mission is successful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before we continue, just wanted to thank all of you for joining us today on this class on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's really an honor and privilege to be amongst you all every day and to learn from you. So thank you for this opportunity and your kind association. Moving on. So before we begin this verse, I thought we should glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam just briefly, just a minute. So I'll just go to this verse, very famous verse. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsya Mekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyam Avishkritam Tachshunvan Supat Pathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuche Naraha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless Purana. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work together with the processes of transcendental knowledge, renunciation, and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. So, that in mind, we're taking the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and we're trying to understand Srimad Bhagavatam sincerely and with faith to see how we can get out of this material world and go back to Krishna. Now, this verse, as we saw it, Srila Prabhupada, and so we are in that part of the story where Mother Earth, King Prithu is out to kill Mother Earth or to chastise her because she is not providing food grains and the citizens, his citizens are hungry for want of food. And Mother Earth has, she's perplexed, she's bewildered, and she's praising him in so many ways, saying, "You're the Supreme Lord. You saved me once, and now why are you out to kill me?" And now she's come to the point where she's finished her prayers, And she sees that King Prithu is still very angry. He's trembling, and he's with rage. And so she's trying to pacify him further. And the first two verses, she's saying, please listen to what I have to say. And in the third verse, she says that there is a process. There's a process given, authorized process given by the sages and the seers of the past. And when we follow that process, we can get our desired results. So if you, indirectly, she's saying that if you want to get grains from me, then there's an authorized process you need to follow. And if you follow that process, then you will be successful. So in the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes the need to follow authority. So if you take the spirit of what he says, he's saying that human life, we must not lead it in a whimsical way, either spiritually or materially. We must follow some authority. We must follow some discipline for us to be able to succeed in this life. So I thought we'll just cover a few points that Srila Prabhupada has also mentioned about the Vedas, the importance, what the Vedas are, what the importance is, and what we need to follow. So initially, about the Vedas itself, right from, when we read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the introduction itself, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned how the Vedas are of apaurushreya origins, which means they're not man-made, they're not created by any ordinary human being. They come from the Supreme Lord himself. And we can see that in the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.1.1, it says here, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye. So this knowledge of the Vedas was revealed in Brahma's heart. Adikavaye refers to Brahma, and Brahma knowledge refers to Vedas. So it was he, the Supreme Lord, who revealed the knowledge of the Vedas in Brahma's, the first original created being's heart. So this is the origin of the Vedas. And again, if you see Srimad Bhagavatam in the final canto, 12th canto, chapters 6 and 7, they give details about how this Vedic knowledge was revealed to Brahma and how it got passed on through disciplic succession down the generations. So initially it says that there was just the transcendental vibration and it was revealed in Brahma's heart. He was the only living person at that time. There was nothing around. And he just gets this is transcendental sound vibration. And that is the initial Om, converts to the initial Om, which is the first representation of the Lord, both in the Brahman, all three, Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead realization is the sound representation is Om. And from Om, Brahma gets the realization or the inspiration from within to compose all the Vedas. The Vedas are inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Brahma's heart. And from there, Brahma then, he passes on this knowledge to his sons. And from his sons, they pass on to their sons and their disciples and so on. And through several multitudinal generations, it comes down through to the living being societies. So that is the origin of the Vedas. It is not mundane. It is supra-natural, it's divine and transcendental in origins. Now, also, why were these Vedas revealed? What is the purpose of the Vedas? So again, we get a couple of references that we can look at. The most easy one that we know is Bhagavad Gita again, chapter 15, verse 15, where he says, Lord Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So by all the Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas is to know Lord Sri Krishna. That's what we get to know from this verse. And similarly, Bhagavatam, from Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a reference to this. So try reading this verse. Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swatha Krishna Jnana Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Puran. This and the next verse also. Let's read the meaning of this one. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled this Vedic literature and its supplements, the Puranas. And the next verse also tells us, Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana, Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the supreme personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and come to understand how to attain liberation. So that is the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas, the Lord himself gave us his Vedas as a means when the conditioned soul is stuck in Maya, in the delusion of Maya, then the way out for him is given to him by the Lord in the form of Vedas. Vedas is one of the forms that he provides. Taking shelter of Vedas, one can come out, one can get liberated from the material clutches. Now, we also know when we chant every day, we are aware of the 10 offenses in chanting. And the fourth offense is to blaspheme Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance of the Vedic version. This is one of the big offenses in chanting. So we can see how important Vedic scriptures are. Like this is like if you blaspheme the Vedic scriptures, you're actually cutting off the very source of your liberation. So we should not do that. And similarly, in the purport of this verse itself, Prabhupada himself refers to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Srila Rupa Goswami has told us that how one must not neglect to follow Shruti, Smriti, Puranas and Pancharatri ki vidhi. So he says, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatri ki vidhim vina, Aikantiki, Harer Bhaktir, Utpatayaiva Kalpate. So if someone is trying to follow spiritual or spiritual practices, supposedly following spiritual practices, but on his own whims, as he wishes, without referring to what's said in the Shruti, Smriti, in the Purana, and the Pancharatri ki vidhi, then he's just creating agitation or utpat in society. He's causing chaos in society. So this is he repeats this. When you look for references for this verse, you see that Prabhupada in almost all his initiation lectures to his disciples, every time he refers to this verse, that we are following what Rupa Goswami has told us, that we are not doing our own thing. We are not doing whatever we feel like whimsically. When we are doing this initiation process, it is as per vidhi, as per what is said in the Shruti, Smriti, Purana and the Pancharatri ki vidhi. So that is the greatness of the Vedas and the Vedic knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport, in his last verse, also talks about how transmigration of the soul or the reincarnation or repeated births and deaths, that is integral in our Vedic understanding. But it is not at all apparent to everyone else. People cannot believe that there is transmigration of the soul, that the soul is evolving through each birth, getting better and better, closer and closer to Krishna, and finally reaching success. So this is something that we commonly understand, but it is not so common to outsiders. Again, this is coming from our Vedic background and Vedic understanding. Now, let's look at, this is the importance and the creation of the Vedas, how it's got transcendental origins. But let's see if we want to approach the Vedas, what is this Vedic knowledge? What does it comprise of? So we already know this. It's a huge, vast body of knowledge. So vast, it includes all knowledge has its origin somehow or the other in Vedic knowledge, Vedic scriptures. Now, Vedas themselves are immense. They're huge. They include Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads, and Puranas and Itihasas as well. So it's unbelievable how much there is, how much content there is in the Vedic knowledge. Thousands and thousands and thousands of verses. And, it's almost impossible for us to even imagine. Just the Puranas alone, if you look at just the Puranas, if you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, the 12th canto, 13th chapter, verses 4 to 9, just talk about how much is contained in these Puranas. So 400,000 verses are there just in the Puranas. Just one small part of the Vedic knowledge has got 400,000 verses. And of these 400,000 verses, Srimad Bhagavatam alone has 18,000 verses. So it's really vast. We cannot even imagine. It's like, it's an ocean of knowledge, which we cannot fathom. So this just brings to mind something that happened several years back when my husband, Pushak Madhav Prabhu, was approaching someone to please join us for our weekly Namhatta sessions on Saturday. Please join us. We are trying to study Bhagavad Gita. Please join us and we can try and study together. And this person, he tells us that, oh, you're studying Bhagavad Gita. That's so small. I'm already studying the Vedas. So I'm very busy studying the Vedas. I don't have time for Bhagavad Gita. So that was quite amusing at that time. And it's amusing even now when we think about it. What is our lifespan and how much time do we have? And in that time, limited lifespan of 60, 70 years, in that, how much time we have, most of our time is going in just material maintenance, maintaining our bodies. And in that, we have spared little time for Vedic knowledge. And if you say that I'm going to study the whole Vedas in that little time I have, and I'm going to not only read it, I'm going to understand it, assimilate it, and apply it to my life and make my life successful, it seems like an impossible dream. It's like an impossible dream. It's like, if you put somebody in the ocean and tell him to find his way back to shore, how is he going to find his way? He doesn't know whether he's east, west, north, south, which way to go. He won't know. It's very bewildering and perplexing. So it's huge. We cannot imagine it. Now, to make some sense out of this whole Vedic knowledge, the Vedic scriptures they're broadly divided into three categories, which is there's a Karma Kanda section, there's a Jnana Kanda section, and Upasana Kanda section. Now, these words we are quite familiar with. Karma Kanda section is to do with religious rituals and processes. Mainly, the purpose of Karma Kanda is mainly for people that want to get material benefits, maybe promotion to higher planetary systems, or even sometimes liberation. Even that is part of Karma Kanda, to get liberation. That's also a material goal. So all these religious processes and rituals prescribed in the Vedic texts, that section is called Karma Kanda. That is for a certain purpose. The next section is Jnana Kanda, which is to do with to get knowledge, as it says, Jnana. For this, we need a huge, this is to meditate and to realize the impersonal Brahman, maybe. That is Jnana Kanda. And Upasana Kanda deals with worship, the processes of worship of different demigods and also Lord Vishnu. So these are three different sections. Karma Kanda, obviously, because it's so focused on rituals and practices, religious practices like that, it needs a lot of opulence. It needs to have people who are well versed in the scriptures, who are well versed in chanting the Vedic hymns properly, and it has big resources required for it. It doesn't seem very feasible for us in this age to follow the Karma Kanda process to gain final success. The Jnana Kanda section needs a lot of intellect. It needs maybe a long lifespan, needs a lot of attention span. Now, in this age, we are all mostly attention deficit. We don't have the kind of time, intellect, or attention or effort required to follow this Jnana Kanda marg. That leaves us with Upasana Kanda. Srila Prabhupada, in his reply to somebody in the Bhavan's journal, he says that Upasana Kanda is probably the most feasible for us in this age. So we are kind of narrowing down the Vedic knowledge to see what is approachable and what is doable by us. So he says Upasana Kanda seems the most feasible for us in this age to worship the Lord. But in that also, Upasana Kanda, the most suited for us is Vishnu Upasana, worshipping the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu. Now, that narrows it down quite a lot. So we don't want to, we don't want to try to reach the impossible. So we brought it down to, okay, we want to do Upasana. We want to do Vishnu Upasana. But even that is a very, very large section of the Vedas. How are we going to grapple with it? So let's look at the essence of the Vedas. So essence of the Vedas, Srila Prabhupada also says, and we have seen that Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, these are our primary texts. These are Shruti and Smriti. Okay, Smriti, Srimad Bhagavatam is Smriti, which is the supporting text. So Shruti is the original Vedic text as spoken by the Lord. And Smriti are the supporting text, supplementary knowledge that is being given by the sages and people of wise people. So that is Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is Smriti. And similarly, Bhagavad Gita, we can say, is both Shruti and Smriti, because It's been spoken by the Lord, by the Supreme Lord, but it is also coming in the Mahabharata as an itihas, so it is also Smriti. Now let's see what these texts say about themselves. When you see Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse 3, again very often quoted verse, Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam shukhamukhat amrita drava samyutam vibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, it says, O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So here we are talking Srimad Bhagavatam itself. In Srimad Bhagavatam itself, it's saying that it is the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. The Vedas are considered a desire tree. They can grant us whatever we wish if we approach them. But of this huge desire tree, the mature fruit, the fruit that is most, the part of the tree that's most digestible and that we can enjoy is the fruit. And this Bhagavatam is a mature fruit, and it's even more tasty, because even more digestible, because it's come from the lips of Sri Shukadev Goswami. So this is what...
Hare Krishna Mataji, just sorry
Yes?
to interrupt you.
Yes.
Your screens are not being seen actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm sharing this. Yeah, from the very beginning, we could not see the screen.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
thank you for letting me know, Vishnupati.
Yeah.
Okay, what should I do now? I'll try sharing again.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much. Sorry to disturb.
Thank you. No problems. Is it seen now?
Yeah, and now we can see.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Vishnupati. Okay.
Thank you.
So, we are talking about the greatness of Srimad Bhagavatam, how it is a mature fruit, and how we're bringing down the Vedic scriptures again to what we can approach and what we can capture in our little lifetime. And again, Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, chapter 2, verse 46. It says here, Yavan artha udapane sarvatha sampritodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So if you compare the Vedas, Vedas is a small well, and the purpose behind them is the Supreme Lord. And if we study the Bhagavad Gita, we can achieve the Supreme Lord. So we brought it down now to Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam comprising 18,000 verses and Bhagavad Gita comprising 700 verses. This is again achievable, but again quite difficult to do every day. Let's come down further. What is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? Can anyone say what's the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? Would anyone like to share?
Mataji, it directs us to surrender to the Supreme Lord, and He will save us from. If we completely surrender to the Supreme Lord, He will save us from all our problems in this material life, and He will ensure that we can reach His abode finally.
Thank you, Prabhu. Oh, it's not coming. The next, yeah, Chatushloki. So what you said is correct, Prabhu. It is condensed in the Chatushloki, just 4 shlokas of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. And we are aware of these verses. We quote them so frequently. So Bhagavad Gita, we say, Aham sarvasya prabho mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam udha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And then we have Matchita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Which is the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Then Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And then Tesham evanupam partham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavastu jnanadipena bhasvata, which is to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this Chatushloki and Chatushloki of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we probably won't have time to go through those 4 verses, but they are the same. They are telling us who is the Lord, who are we, what is the process we have to follow, and finally, what is our goal. So the Sambandha, the Abhideya, and the Prayojana are all contained in the Chatushloki. This is easy. This is doable for us. We can learn these shlokas and we can chant them and memorize them and repeat them every day and understand them and apply them in our lives. But can we make it even more simple? Can we get what is the essence of the Chatushloki? Would anyone like to say what can be even more simpler than the Chatushloki? The Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This we are saying, O Lord, O energy of the Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. So this is called the Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. It's the essence of the essence of the essence of all Vedic knowledge when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So what can be more simple than this? Even a 2-year-old child who's beginning to speak can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra easily. So it gives us a chance for anyone in any stage or any condition of life to make their life successful, to have the knowledge of all the Vedas simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I'd like to conclude today's class by just referring to the last 2 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which tells us about just this, which is, I like this shloka, Bhave Bhave Yatha Bhakti Padayostava Jayate Tatha Kurushva Devesha Nathastvam No Yatha Prabhu. O Lord of Lords, O Master, please grant us pure devotional service at your lotus feet, life after life. And the last verse, which is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harimparam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. So that I would like to end today's class. We talked about, when we go today's class, this translation says we have to benefit all human society, not only in this life, but in the next. The great seers and sages have prescribed various methods conducive to the prosperity of the people in general. So today we saw how we can get prosperity in this life, in the next life, and go back to Godhead and get success in our life as such, in our mission of life, by following the methods prescribed in the Vedas as given by great seers and sages who have prescribed it over all these generations. So thank you. With that, I'd like to conclude today's class. If anyone has anything to share, any comments or any corrections, please feel free to chip in now. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for a very nice class. You have so elaborately explained the importance of following the scriptures. Without following the scriptures, we cannot learn the transcendental knowledge. And subsequently, you have also explained the reason why, and because Srila Rupa Goswami has clearly explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that without following the scriptures, one only creates problem in the society. Neither he can attain the perfection, nor he can get the ultimate goal, but in the process, he creates problem in the society. Shruti, Sriti, Puranadi, Pancharatri, Vidhingvina, Oikantiki Harer Bhakti, Utpataipa Kalpate. That was the sloka you mentioned very nicely. And so we should always follow the scriptures And after the passing of, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this material world, this after some time, I mean, few centuries later, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's writings, and he was trying to spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this material, to that time, he found that a lot of I mean, so much contamination has already taken place. People were explaining their Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's things in their own way, and they was making departure from that. So he tried to see, he put the importance of following the religious scriptures, which you have nicely explained. Thank you very much for that. And the second, you have told that that the verses, I mean, the contents of the Vedic knowledge is enormous, and is in thousands, it's millions and millions of verses are there. And so in the small span of our life, which runs 60, 70 or something like that, or maybe 80, 90 years, but how we can know all that? So for that, we have to follow the acharyas who have summarized it for us, so that we can follow in this life and find perfection. And you have also mentioned that Bhagavad Gita's verse 2.46, that when so many small things is available, but in a big pond, everything, water we can use other than welling from the small. And in fact, the verse just before that, also it was mentioned that yes. It is also telling that the purpose of spiritual thing is not to remain in this condition. I mean, three modes of material nature. One has to rise beyond the three modes of material nature to know the transcendental knowledge. And so, and you have also nicely explained on the same line that the Vedas have got different sections: Karma Kanda section, Jnana Kanda section, Vipassana Kanda section. And Prabhupada has nicely, summarized all these things, that in this present age, we cannot do the Karma Kanda. No, the Jnana Kanda is also very vast, as you nicely explained, and the Vipassana Kanda is the only available things. And even within that, the various process that is available, he has concentrated. I mean, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has summarized it for us. And in this age, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is enough to liberate us in this material world. So if we strictly follow the instructions given by our acharyas and follow Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and remember that in our day-to-day life, and all our activities are in tune with them, in this line, our life, we can make our life successful in the short period of this Kali Yuga also. Thank you very much for the nice class.
Thank you.
Others have got any other?
Very so nicely. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat
Hare Krishna
Pranam.
Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Yeah, beautiful class. Just a few things to add on, or
Yes, please.
repeating, you can say. It is just how we understand this big subject, such an ocean. But to make it more simplify, we just take these three words, that is Sambandha, Avidya, and Prayojan. This is the very simplest process, as we normally do in all our practical purposes. First, we read the instruction, we experiment it, and if we get the instruction, whatever been given in the beginning, if it follows the same result, so we conclude it. So that is what is the Prayojan. So our acharyas already read it, they already experienced it. That is Smriti. So Shruti. So Smriti is a vast subject which is very, very difficult for all of us to understand. But to make it simplify, already proven records are given in Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita gives the Shruti and Bhagavatam gives the Smriti. So the practical results are already given. What we need to do is just follow their footsteps, and that will clear out all our doubts, and we can make our life peaceful. That's why Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, they have maintained the lineage to make it so simple for us. By chanting only the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, everything can fall in places, and we can be happy in this life and in the next. And that is what my realization for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Nice summary. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Tulsi Sevya. Thank you very much for nice class. So especially like that
Yes.
Shruti, the Abhideya, Sambandha and Prayojana. I think that's also a very nice way of getting the essence of the scriptures, because scriptures, as you said, is very, very vast. And some places we may find it is saying one thing, other places, because of our limited understanding, we might say it is saying totally different thing. So how to know which is what to take? So I think if anything is helping our Sambandha, Prayojana and Abhideya, all that once we absorb, then we absorb the essence of the scriptures. So that's very nice way of understanding the vastness and any so-called contradictions also in the scriptures, I thought. Just by, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. So if there's no other comments or questions, then shall we end for today?
It appears, Mataji, there is no other comments. Or if anybody has any comments, please make. Otherwise, we can close the class in that case.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for your class.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Jai.
Bhagavatam
Mahapuran ki jai.
Jai.
Har Grace Tulsi Sevya Mataji ki jai.
Jai. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.